start to record. It's really important. So before we start to our work today, I would like to ask you about the first test that I published last week. Did you have any other questions? Did you have time to check the activity? I received only one file about one group. I cannot remember the group, and I provide the feedback. But just only one group that sent the file to read it, to see if in the path or is wrong. Did you have any questions? Anything that you would like to ask?
Teacher, we're going to have time in the class to finish our task.
The session today, no. Today, no. Today we start a new activity, and I believe during this activity, I can provide some time at the end of the session to clarify some points, but not. I cannot provide time to work in the session. Okay.
Yes, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So today we start a new. Okay, fine. Do you have any questions? No. Okay. Today we start a second topic related to the project management. We studied today about in the last session we studied how to write requirements, and today we start to know how organize a project. Okay, and today we have the beginning is a theory part, but after you have a very practical lessons. Okay, I will ask you to open a tool and using a tool, and we explaining and you apply the concept that I explained in the session. Okay, so the idea is the first part I will explain what is a project and how the project is organized. Start to explain about the Scrum, the methodology that we use. And the second session, we continue to talk about the Scrum, use an external tool to organize the projects. I asked you to open an account in this tool. And it's our work during this session today, okay? So to start, I will share my presentation. Okay. So first thing is we talk about the soft development process, but it's the same to the hardware development or the system development. There are a little change between each process, but in the general way, we follow the same process. The first, as we explained in the last session, the first you have the software specification. That is the time that you define the requirements, that state the requirements, identify with the user what the user wants, his expectative, identify the functional and non-functional requirements, and try to use a way to write these requirements. In our case, we define that we use user story because we understand that the user will change the requirements to the developer of the project. Okay. The second part, after you have the requirements, you need to start to design and implement the solution. Okay, it's the second step. You need to design, understand better the domain, try to define an architecture, and start to codify or start to develop the hardware. The next step is the software validation. Is the time that you test and validate the solution. You test that You're looking for errors in your solution and validate with the user that the software is exactly what he wants. And there are, in the life cycle of the software, you have the last phase is the software evolution. Okay, uh, a system or software is not a monolithic solution. You're not a start solution. It's very common when you deliver, you provide the final delivery of the software, the user has new ideas or new requirements, and the software suffers the evolution. You adjust, insert new functionalities in the system. Okay, it's the general process. Uh, we already saw these things, but what is the problem in the software? You have a problem to deliver the things in the time. You have problem with the money, and you have problems in the. Sorry, just a moment. Okay, you have three problems. Okay, you can. The first issues or the first worry that you need to have is you deliver the correct software. The other, you have the enough money. The last one, you have enough time. It's the same thing that I show in the Impossible Project book. Okay, and the problem is all of these questions need to be considered during the project planning. There are one research uh, that happens, I believe, in 2010, that the researchers look for about, okay, uh, in the project, software projects, what happens in the functionality that you develop. This research told this situation. I tried to find my Zoom and I didn't find it. Oh, here. What this research said? Okay, 45% of all functionalities that you develop never being used. Okay, you never use it. Okay, 20% of the functionality that you develop in that system is frequently used, 19 higher and 16 sometimes. What this research said is only 20% of your effort is useful. Uh, if you think about the budget, out of your budget to the projects, only 20% become things that you really want or what you will really need. Okay. The problem when you analyze this situation is around 64% of the code that you develop is trash. You pay for trash. Okay, you spend time for trash. And it's the reason that a lot of researchers looking for new methodology or new way to develop projects to try to reduce this number. Uh, you have a lot of the project process that you can use to develop system. The first one and the more traditional one, the first that the people start to think and when analyze, for example, Fayol and Taylor process in the beginning of the industry, is the water flow. The water flow is you follow a step by step the development system. In the first step, you define the requirements. When you finalize the requirements, you develop systems of design. When you finalize the systems of design, you implement a unit test, integration test, and you install the system in the production phase. What is the problem in this approach? Who can answer?
That you need to wait that the previous step is ready to continue.
Yes. The main problem is, for example, you only fix that you use this amount of time for the perform each test, each phase. Okay, for example, 3 months to uh, to to require its definition, 6 months to develop, maybe 2 months to test. Okay, to the implementation, and 2 months to integration. What happens in this situation here is you wait for 9 months to start to test your code, to find problems. Okay. And if you find problems here in the implementation and the testing, you need to batch for this phase, fix the problem that you find in the requirements, change the design, and back to the test. Things that you can discover the problems before. In this case here, you lost around 9 months. You spend 9 months for nothing. It's not exact for nothing, but you spend a lot of time to find problems in your design, find problems in the real world. And because this problem, you spend a lot of research. And it's the reason that you didn't use the waterfall process in the realistic projects today. But it's very common in the past, okay? There is this curve here, the cost of change, the bare-boa, and what this graph represent? If you found problems in the requirements phase and you fix the problem, it is your cost. If you find problems when the software in the production, it's your cost. We use this model today because the new methodologies try to find this model and try to perform these things. What the new models try to do? Try to move tasks, more advanced tasks for the beginning of the project, okay? To keep the cost close to the beginning of the line. What you change in the line with the new process, it's not exponential, but it's like a sum quadratic cost. Okay. Analyze this graph and analyze the problem that the water flow problem has. The people try to use incremental model. In the incremental model, you develop all the phase in the increment, each increment. For example, you divide the projects in increments, okay? Okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. And in each phase or each increment, you define groups of features that groups of functionalities or group of requirements that you implement, okay? For example, in the first increment, you implement the requirements 1, 2, and 3. And the second, 4, 5, 6. And the 3, 9, and so on, okay? And each increment, you perform all the phases: planning, modeling, building, deployment, testing, okay? When you go to the second, you planning, modeling, building, testing, okay, deployment. And the third, and when you do it, your graph change it's not more, it's changed because you implement each phase all the times, okay? And in here is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 6, okay? You have the same line, but you decrease the chance to have problems. You decrease the probability to have problems. Follow the increment, the last model. You have the spiral model. In the spiral model, it's like incremental one. However, the focus is follow the spiral. You have you prototype it all cycle in the spiral. For example, we start the project, you have the first prototype. You continue the project, you have the second prototype. All the times you work to have a prototype in each spiral that you work. But in now it's close to the last one because you develop the same things in each spiral. Okay, but what changes? You keep more attention. Uh, you didn't divide the test equally in all the process. You put focus. For example, the first prototype, maybe you have only the views, okay? In the second one, you have an implementation of this view. The third one, you have some functionalities work, real work, okay? And based on the prototype that you have, you increase the activities that you use to test and validation, okay? But all of this phase has the same problem. You spend, if you see here, you spend a long time to try to understand the requirements and try to understand what the user wants in the beginning of the project. However, and we spend a lot of effort to generate documents, okay, to generate documents. Using the spiral model, you have a very famous methodology in the 18 years, and 18 and 19 years is the rational uniform process. The rational uniform process uses the same approach. It's the mix of the spiral and water flow, okay? The problem in this methodology is you produce a lot of papers and don't have time to produce code. Analyze this situation, you have a very famous case, is the FBI. After the 11th, September 11th, the FBI hiring a big company, to develop a system to provide intelligence insights to the FBI, okay? And spend, I don't know exactly the amount, but it's a lot of millions of dollars, okay? After 2 or 3 years, the FBI does not have any, I believe it's 2 years, does not have any system, only design, project plans, only papers, okay? In that time, one research that start to use, that studies a lot of new methodologies in the production, the lean methodology that the people use in the Japan, and other trends about the quality trends in the industry, propose to work in the same project to continue the project that the FBI worked, but to use an agile techniques. It's a very famous case. It's the first case in the real system that shows that agile is much better than the other. What the agile has? First, individual interaction over process and tools. You don't need a very amazing tool to work in the agile. For example, in the ROP methodology, you need to have a very strong tools to support the process, because you have a lot of reporting. The report is input to another process, and the tools user, you need a very powerful tool to use the ROP. In the agile, you don't need. The focus is not to the process. The focus is individuals interaction. It's much better to have programmers that talks with the users and discover what the user wants and develop the things and receive the feedback from the user immediately, not to use a document, okay? The second thing that is important in the agile is working software over comprehensive documentation. In the agile, most of the time you use maybe You use OML diagram, okay? It's important. But much more important, if you need to select, okay, are you designing the OML diagram or you implement the code? You implement the code because the code produce the code is what the user wants. The user don't want to have a very good documentation of the software, but the software is not working. It's much better to have a very good software and they require the documentation. You don't need to spend a lot of time to write. The next one is the constant collaboration over the contract negotiation. In the oldest approach, you have one discipline that you have in the project manager is the contract manager, okay? And we spend a lot of time to discuss contracts. When you have problems in the software, you will talk with lawyers or the businessman. In the agile, you have the user all the time with you, okay? Respond to change of the follow-up plan. In the agile, if you have a problem, you show it today. If you have a problem, in the next time, not you follow the plan until the end. No, in the next step, on the next cycle, you stop and fix the problem that the users show. Okay, it's immediately. The agile has 20 principles, first principle, okay, main principles. Satisfy the customer, the focus is the customer, not the process. Welcome change. Okay, if you have a change, we can support, we can enable to change. Deliver frequently. In the previous approach, you spend, for example, a year to show something to the user. Now you show every week or every 2 weeks. Work together. In agile methodology talks the same thing. You work in pair, okay? One guy programming, another check or test the code at the same time. And it supports two things. You have a team, okay? The individual is not more important than the team because all of results or all of artifact that you generate is generated by the team, is not generated by the one individual only, okay? And increase the collaboration of the environment, okay, of the project. Trust and support, face-to-face conversation between, instead documents or contract negotiations. Working software, the focus is to develop things. Sustainable development, you increase the complexity of your software during the time. Continuous attention, again, 1 week by week or 15 or 50 days, you have the validation of your work with the user. Simplicity, okay? You'll see that it's very simple to organize and to coordinate an agile project. Self-organized team, you don't have a boss, okay? You have a team leader that is close to a boss in the real project. But much more important than these guys is you have a Scrum Master that you only support the team to work. In the Agile, you don't have the boss that say, oh, Abraham, you do it, Ivan, you do it, Israel, you do it. No, you have the task, and Abraham, when you see the task, say, oh, I believe the task one is more close to what I want to do. Ivan, oh, I would like to work in the task two. There is no, the attribution of the task is not top to down. It's the line or it's horizontal. Reflect and adjust. All the time you analyze what is wrong and what is good and fix the process. When you compare the agile and the water flow, this picture is very good, okay? In the water flow, you follow fixed step: plan, design, build, test, correct, test, deploy. In the agile, it's completely different. You plan like the water flow, but if you see here, the plan in the water flow is much more bigger than the agile. And you have a different cycles when you design, build, test, update the plan, deploy. Design, build, test, update the plan, deploy. Design, build, test, and deploy the final project. And in the waterfall process, you is a plan driver. In the agile, the value driver. Because what is the reason to replan? Because first, maybe some things change is wrong and you need to fix. And the second thing is, all the time you present your results and the user said, oh, what I want for the next step is this feature. Okay, it's an amazing thing in the agile and the waterfall. Until here, guys, any questions?
No, teacher.
No.
Again, waterfall and agile. In the waterfall, you have the time and you put the dice is the uncertainty, okay? Is the level of uncertainty, okay? You have money and a lot of uncertainty. You have more uncertain money, money and uncertainty about what you deliver, okay? And the box is the delivery, okay? In the agile, you define that you have a lot of uncertainty, money. You decrease the uncertainty, more money. You keep the same level of money, and at the end you have a few uncertainty, and you have few tech debt. What is changed here? Why? Who can answer me? Why you have big uncertainty in the end of the waterfall project, and in the agile you do not have? What is the reason to in the waterfall, at the end of the waterfall project, you have a lot of uncertainty, and in the agile you do not have? Who can answer?
Maybe because there are no consumer feedback up until the end for the waterfall, and in the agile you have constant feedback, so you like check anything that the user wants, and at the end you like almost cover everything.
Perfect, Eduardo. Congratulations. Exactly. You have a lot of uncertainty here because you receive on the feedback of your G, sorry, at the end. Here, no, you receive feedback during the process. Any question, guys? Nope.
No.
Okay. Now we start to study one methodology that exists that use agile. Okay, you have a lot of methodology that use agile. You have a Kanban, you have a Scrum, you have a Lean, you have what's the name is test is, oh my gosh, I missed the name. It's a very okay. I missed it. You have a lot of different methodologies. We study one of them. Okay, and you have XP. Okay, we study the one of them, the Scrum. Why Scrum? Or why does not is XP first? Scrum implement a lot of things that you have in the XP. In other words, Scrum implement our XP. Scrum organize better the XP. The second thing is use XP in companies is very hard to use only XP. It works a lot in the open source development where you don't have all of programmers or all of developers is volunteers. Okay, you don't have you have a planning of the developer, but all the people is involved because all the people is better. All the people is compromised with the solution, but you don't have an hierarchy. You don't have a company that you need to deliver. No, you are volunteer. Okay, XP works very, very good in this environment. But in a company that you have the planning, you need to develop the things in a specific time, okay, and receive money to it. Scrum works fit better, okay, and we try to explain why during this session. Scrum has some characteristics. First, self-organized teams. It's like XP. Okay, it's the same. XP has this same characteristics. What means self-organized teams? It means that you don't have a boss. Again, you have the list of the tasks. When you receive a list of the tasks, the team talking together converge to the best solution. Okay, first, I don't know, Misael thinks, oh, I'm good in database. I will work in the database dash. Maria Clarita is her, well, in this sprint, I feel better to work in documentation because I don't have a lot of time. I have a problem in my house and I would like to work in documentation because I cannot go to the office and I need to work in my home. Okay, the team organize the solution of the problem together without to have a boss to, you don't have a boss to try to think with the, to think and decide the things. The team decide the things. It's amazing. I worked, I remember in year 2006, 2007, I was responsible to implement Scrum in a company in the north of my country, a big company. And the first project that we had is to oh my gosh, we need to move a lot of proprietary technology to an open source one. Okay, for example, I respond to move the database from Oracle to Postgres. I respond to change, for example, applications that we develop use the ASP, is an old technology in the Microsoft technology, to PHP or to Java. In that time, Java is open source. We have, and it's a big company. It's a company with, I believe, is 3,000. Yes, 30, no, not 30, no, 40,000 users in a very, in a geographic space close to Damascus, for example. It's a very big place. It's a very huge implementation. Okay, and with the executive guys define, okay, we don't have money and I don't have guys to work using the ROP is the technology. It's the waterfall with spiral technology project process. You don't have time to work using traditional methodology. We need to develop these things with a few people and with a big risk or high risk. And the CEO of the company said, okay, I select you to organize the team and to use the Scrum to develop this project. I remember in the first time I trained the guys, talk with the guys and define, okay, now I'm not the boss. I'm working in the first 2-3 sprints. I will talk about two or three cycles. I work as a Scrum Master. What is Scrum Master? Is the guy that is responsible to make the project follow the process, okay? And to support the team with the problem. For example, oh, my computer is broken. I create a call in, I open a request in the help desk. However, the help desk does not provide any feedback, okay? Is the Scrum Master responsible to talk with the help desk and say, oh, what happened? Okay, it's the support guys. And I talk with the team. Okay, I'm not the boss. I'm the Scrum Master for 3 cycles. And after the 3 cycles, another engineer will become the Scrum Master. And okay, we start to work, and the team continue to use the traditional approach. Thinks, okay, Barreto is the boss, Alexander is the boss, and we have a meeting with the stakeholder, a meeting with the client, and the client knows because I and the CEO of the company did the same course about the Scrum and did together. And the CEO understood, really understand what the process, how the process works. And the meeting, we start the meeting to the user see the results, and the team wait for me to present the things. And I said, okay, it's the team. Please, Maria Clarita, present your work. And in this time, they said the Maria Clarita, the example, my team said, oh, I have a lot of problem because I didn't do it, and didn't do it. The next one, oh, I have a lot of problems, blah, 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 blah. And the third one, and after the fourth one, the CEO wake up and said, okay, it's not a problem of Barreto, Alexander. Alexander is the Scrum Master. It's your problem. You didn't work, you didn't organize to solve the problem. You need to move or need to change your mind to work in this new project. I will leave and I return in 15 days to check your work again. Okay? And you change a lot the way to think. It's what happens after it. My team stop and start to think, oh, I need to change the way to work. I need to share my ideas. I need to be not only involved, I need to be compromised. And the people start to work more. But not because I have a boss that, okay, you need to do it, you need to do it. No, because they understood the mentality of the Scrum or the mentality of XP. And start to, for example, in the meetings, the daily meetings that you have, for example, I say to you, Maria, because you are in my front here in the Zoom, okay? Marita said to Eduardo, oh, I have a problem. I don't know how to fix this problem. And then I say, oh, don't worry. I will work in this activity and select another activity. And Maria select another activity. Eduardo has a problem, and because her computer is broken, and say, oh, Scrum Master, I have a problem. I need to fix. Oh, it's me. I will talk with the guy to provide a new computer. And the process starts to work more light because you don't have a boss. You have the pressure to results, but you don't have a boss. You are important to the group. If you fail, the group fails. It's what means self-organized teams. The second thing is product process is a series of month long. It's not exactly a month long. In the current project, you don't use a month. You use 50 days cycles. Okay? 2 weeks, you show the result of your work. You work in the 2 weeks planning. Okay? At the end of the 2 weeks, you need to have not papers, not ideas. You need to have an implementation. Okay? A small implementation of the requirements. Things, for example, a system that you need to, e-commerce system. In the first week, you present, for example, the login work. Okay, the login has in the real database. Okay, in the second one, you have you can buy one item. The third iteration, and go on until you have the final system. But all of these cycles, with 50 days, you have a product that your user can test. Not paper. Maybe in the beginning you have more papers, some papers. For example, a good idea is to generate the views first. to check if the user interface is good when you have a user interface, okay? For example, you check with the user that the user interface is good or that is makes sense, okay? It's a good idea. It's a product. The user can use it, the user can see. Requirements are captured as items in a list of the product backlog. Again, we talk a lot about it. We wrote a lot of requirements and we wrote a lot of user store, okay? And the idea now is to save this information in the product backlog. I will talk about what is the product backlog in the next today yet. So, no specific engineering practice prescribed. Scrum does not talk about the engineering. It's like a template of project. You can use any engineering practice inside the Scrum, okay? The company they'll define. Use generative rules to create an agile environment for delivering project, okay? All the times, you check what is wrong, you check the way that your team is, and try to adapt the work to be fit well with the user. It's a very amazing because if you have I work in the projects that I have only very experienced researchers, okay, PhD guys. You cannot work with these guys like you work, for example, with a programmer, a very young programmer. It's completely different. You need to adapt your way to work, okay? Again, Scrum is one of the agile process, okay? You have others. This picture here summarizes what is the Scrum, okay? First, to start the process, you need to create the product backlog. What is the product backlog? The product backlog is the list of the user store that you need to implement to finalize the project, okay? The product backlog is the list of user stores, or is the list of requirements, okay? You don't need to use user store, okay? You can use another way to write requirements, okay? But the product backlog is the list of the user store. Again, you organize the work in the Scrum use sprints, okay? Scrum sprint. What is a Scrum sprint? Is an amount of time, okay, that you have to develop an incremental software. In the books, the people said that okay, one cycle has 30 days, but in the real world, most of the time you use 15 days, okay? 2 weeks, okay? You use 2 weeks. You can use 1 week, but 1 week is a few amount of time to work. It's much better to have 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you can understand better the requirements, implement the thing, test the things, and document the things, okay? What happens? Every 15 days or every sprint, okay, every sprint, you develop a part of the solution, okay? Not paper. And what is you need to do? You need to understand the requirements in 50 days. You understand the user store better. You improve the understanding or detail the user store. You need to design the implementation. You need to test the implementation, and you need to document the implementation. Okay, in 50 days. Okay, it's what is the sprint? Is the cycle. Back to the beginning. When you finalize the product backlog, you need to organize. For example, you have 6 months to develop the system. Okay, you divide 6 months and sprints. Okay, for example, in this case, 50 days. Okay, If you have 6 months, you have 12 sprints, okay? And to start the sprint, you define a goal, okay? What is a goal? Again, the things that you need to develop in one sprint is the things that is important to do, okay? In the beginning of the sprint, you have a meet, is the plan meeting, when you talk with the guy that represents the customer and say, what is important to you now? And the guys, oh, it's very important to finalize the, for example, the logging. Okay, perfect. I will develop the bond. So the sprint goal is to develop the logging. It does not mean that you only work in the logging feature, but you can work in another things. For example, you have a big team and you can work in different other things. But at the end of the sprint, one thing that you need to fix or to solve is the goal of the sprint. Okay, you have the sprint goal. When you have the sprint goal, you select the user store or the users, one user store or the group of the user store that you need to use to implement to fix the sprint goal or to acquire the sprint goal. Okay, when you have this user store, you define, okay, for each user store, you create a list of tasks. For example, task 1, task 2, task 3. For example, task 1 is implement the feature, the functionality 1. Task 2, implement the functionality 2. Task 3, test functionality 1 and 2. Task 4, document the functionality 1 and 2. Okay? You create a lot of tests. And this test is what you save in the sprint backlog. What is the sprint backlog? Is the list of the tasks that you need to implement to work during a sprint and to produce the final, the artifact that you generate in the sprint. Okay? What's the difference between the sprint backlog and the product backlog? The product backlog, you have user store and the all user store that you have in the project. In sprint backlog, you have only the user stores and the tasks that relate to the sprint goal. Oh, after these 15 days, you have a meeting with the if the guy that represents the customer and identify that you need to have a new user store. No, it's not a problem. You create a new user store and save in the product backlog. So what each more information is required here? You have a sprint that spans 15 days, okay? Is the cycle. However, inside the sprint, you have a small cycle. It's a daily cycle, okay? In each day, you have a meeting, very short meeting, when you check your work and see, oh, what is the problem? Okay, what you check here? You check what I do, what I did, what I will do today, what I did yesterday, what I will do today, and what is the problems that I had to implement what I need to do. Or what is the problem that I had that caused that I cannot produce what I said yesterday. Okay? You have this small cycle every day to check the performance of the project. Any question about this picture?
No.
Okay. I will give a break, okay, 10-minute break. After this break, you discuss, I explain better each element of this picture here. But this picture here is the Scrum. Everything that you need to know about the Scrum is here, okay? So, okay, stop the sharing. Okay. Guys, now is 9? Now is 9:55, 9:57 in Mexico. Okay. We return 10, 7. Okay? See you
Okay.
soon, guys.